Here, 1433, good luck. So a bit of a rating gap there. We've not played before, no head-to-head score. Opponent 3700 games, very good. And what am I on? 7010. We'll just play a normal carro here, so we'll take. I'm just going to play h6 just to stop the knight jumping across. Knight up. What do I want to do now? Let's just develop as normal. Take back conventionally if takes. Knight back is a perfectly normal move. Takes is a perfectly normal move. Now we're just going to try and castle. So I'll play a bishop up and castle. It's a little bit of a dangerous opening, this one. I'll try and play this bishop up as well because he's gone to e2 instead of d3. Depending on what my opponent does now. So I'm going to develop the bishop first because I've still got to move to castle before rook across. Okay, so I want the knight up. The bishop is probably going to come back this way at some point. Rook across to make room for the knight. Okay, I'm going to play queen up. Okay, so what do we do here? Pawn up feels very natural, doesn't it? But I guess you just push your pawn, but that can actually open things up for us. Bishop here could be a move as well. I'm just going to push the pawn forward, try and gain a bit of space. This way I think I'm fine to take. This way I think I'll just push up and see if he closes it down or trades. He does trade. Okay, bishop comes up. So bishop up is still a potential move to hit that bishop. Rook up could be a move. Rook behind could be a move. A knight back is probably a move, but the knight could jump around this way as well. So does it matter? Probably does. We could play bishop up as well to hit the knight, threatening to take and win a pawn. That's probably a decent move as well. Rook up here. There's no immediate concrete threat, is there? I quite like bishop up, actually. Just threatening to simply take the knight. Feels a bit slow, though. I like the knight this way as well to fix this. Yeah, I'm going to bring the knight this way just to try and fix these pawn pushes. Try not to burn too much of the clock. It's very easy to go a little bit too quickly or a little bit too slowly. Yeah, he's played pawn up now to deal with that issue, so taking the knight isn't such a big advantage now at all. The knight into the center could be good now, but I guess it creates more issues. I'm going to play rook forward. I'm going to put the rook forward and trust that my king is reasonably safe. I don't know it is, but I've still got the chance to jump around and maybe pressure this pawn. Bishop up or rook across could be moves. Excuse me. We're just maneuvering right now, trying to figure out some sort of plan. Now, if I go here, the queen's only got one square. But is that any good to us? I don't see the benefit right now. If I drop right back, it does give a potential back rank mate issue. Yeah, so I'm going to actually drop the bishop this way and maybe come over here. Or maybe knight in. Knight in to hit the bishop could be a move. They're often very slow positional games, these carrows. So it can be difficult to create any concrete chances. Pawn up, I guess you might have to play f5 to play f4. Oh, that might actually encourage it. Do I go forward now? It encourages knight across to hit the bishop and the pawn, and you might have to drop the bishop back. It's giving me a free development move. Actually, I like the look of that. You might need to just spend a move dropping the bishop straight back, and then if we push, you might have to play f4. He just ignores it, so that's a pawn, right? You've got to keep guarding your bishop. So it looks like a free pawn. Is there any tricks like queen down will be covered as well? I'm going to take the pawn. because we hit the queen. I'm just looking out to see if the queen can attack multiple pieces at the same time, but I don't see it. But you've got to guard your bishop as well. So queen f3, logical. So any tricks now? I've got bishop up. I could just trade, but then the knight comes in, looks very dangerous. I don't like the look of that. So I'm going to bring the bishop onto this diagonal. It is quite a scary position, this, so it's not easy. Maybe across and try and trade that rook. Or do I really have to trade here? Maybe. Have I got bishop here now? Is the queen trapped? If he has to trade the queen, I'd be very pleased. I'm going to go here. He might be able to drop down and trade the queen off, but if the queen comes off, I think that's better for me. Then there's another pawn about to fall. I'll just try to make sure that my king doesn't fall. But I say the queen's got 2 squares. Either way, I'll just trade. So we'll trade, and then we should be okay to take a pawn, right? Because the squares are all covered. And then we can try and maybe trade things off now and hopefully use our extra pawns. So we've got 2 extra pawns right now. We're both down to 2 minutes on the clock. But the bishop hopefully can just drop back here now. I mean, I could push up and trade the bishop for the knight, I guess, but let's just see. Yeah, bishop goes back. So we've got to move like knight back and we hit the rook and the bishop at the same time. The bishop moves, my bishop is a bit loose, but I like the idea of this. I come back and I guard the bishop. I hit the rook, I hit the bishop. But this bishop is not protected by anything, so if this bishop moves, there's a threat here. So I think we just want to take here. And we guard this pawn. So now we've got bishop in and we hit the pawn and the rook while still guarding this, and our king is safe. We just got to watch out for back rank issues, but bishop up feels like a good move to me. Collect a pawn with a check. The king's getting short of squares. Just looking for logical development moves, but it's really easy to go wrong, you can see. Okay, it's a difficult position for white now because there's not really many good optional moves. Oh, that's actually going to lead to a loss straight away. You're going to have to block because the king's got no squares to move to now. That's very unfortunate for my opponent. He's played a very good game. You can see how I can easily lose some of these games. Just one little slip somewhere. But you're going to have to block with a rook now, so it's going to be over now. So is there anything like a checkmate here? The king can't actually move. You can't go back to block, so you can only block here, and it's actually checkmate. So we throw the rook in, and the king's got no legal moves, so you're going to have to block. So just take your time to just try and spot their moves, but it doesn't matter if you don't actually see that and you just take the rook, it's fine. As long as you win the game, that's all that matters. But really, really good effort by my opponent there. Well done. So we'll pause so we don't accidentally start another game. We'll put it through the analyzer. So we've played 30 moves. So they're the move times for both players. So we'll just request an analysis. So we'll just see how we played it in engine language. But you can see it's very difficult to actually create some clear-cut chances in the Caro in lots of these lines. But we still played it pretty well. 94% versus 83% accuracy, CPL 22 and 56. So we are slightly worse out of the opening here. So we've made a mistake. We should have just castled immediately instead of developing the bishop. So that's something I really should know. It's 1.5 for white now. Then the knight out straight away to hit the bishop as the move. And if your bishop ever comes back here, it takes away the king's escape square. So it can actually be a little bit of a hindrance. But we're quickly back to level here. We've stayed basically level to this point. And then the bishop up was a mistake, and this is where it starts to go wrong for my opponent. Bishop up there is a blunder, so we can now get +3, +4 better. And you can see we've not converted it perfectly, but we've played okay. So in your own games, just take your time. Obviously, the engine is saying actually queen to h5 is a better square here than trading, and the queen's not getting trapped. But take your own time and play through the moves as long as you need, just to try and learn from any mistakes. Then we spot a nice checkmate in the end here, where you have to block with a bishop, and we get a nice conversion. But if you don't see that, you can win a free rook. Just take the free rook. If you don't see it, you don't see it. But it was a good effort by my opponent, won it there, so very well done.